And for our next act, this is the Michelle Resistance Chicks. They are going to keep staying on Sweden. This is the third episode.
We have to. I mean, we have to study all these angles on the Swedish rapey capies because they are our bloody sisters. That's awful. I say that. They're in our blood. It's in our blood. We have to stand up for them. It's what I meant. Translation. No go. No go zone on the translation there. It did not work right. Okay. Well, I want to take you to Nigel Farage. He's going to come later after this guy on Sean Hannity. Okay, and this is how the Swedish talk. So don't keep knocking on my Swedish. Okay? Okay.
Rahim, the latest example is, okay, you have an immigration problem all throughout Europe. Specifically, I have a whole pile of reports here on Sweden. And they say, oh, did you hear the president's wrong on Sweden? The president was right about Sweden. Explain.
Well, the president was absolutely manifestly correct on Sweden. I was there just last week in Rosengård, in Malmö, in Husby and Rinkeby, the suburbs of Stockholm, and what I saw was absolutely terrifying. I can't tell whether these journalists are now just partisan dum-dums or cretinous liars. Vice versa. Who knows? But the fact of the matter is they haven't been there. They haven't seen what's going on. This segregation, this lack of integration, this appeal to allowing them to ghettoise, the Swedish government effectively forcing them to do so by putting them in these housing tenements where they all live together. He's absolutely right. There's no question about it. This isn't even a question. And you know he's right because they came out and said he was wrong within seconds of him saying this.
That's very true. My mom has always said that.
They haven't researched it. They haven't read the books on it.
Yeah.
It's so
God
quick.
forbid they do work. Good points for everybody. Thank you. And up next, Hillary.
Whenever somebody comes, like your enemy comes right out and just all of a sudden, accuses you of something, then you must be doing something right.
Exactly.
If you're a good person.
Yeah, no kidding. So, should we save Nigel for last? There are 10 reasons why Sweden's multicultural utopia is massively failing. And if you watch, there's a lot of links to this. So you can go into and see, like, the young girls had to get bracelets that said, don't touch me. And then into, like,
Like, that's really going to stop anyone.
I know. So, Sweden's government reacted to comments made by President Trump on the failings of the Swedish multicultural experiment with bewilderment. But the situation in Sweden is deteriorating rapidly. And so, this young girl is the murder of asylum center worker Alexandra Mezer by a Somalian asylum seeker who lied about being underage. And so that happens over and over again. They come in with like mustaches and beards and they're like, I'm 15! And like, oh, and all the Swedish people, oh yeah, you just got lots of hair for your face for being 15. Oh.
So she was murdered.
Yes. And then, so she was stabbed to death by a Somalian asylum seeker named Yusuf Nur in a home of 4 underage migrants, who all are probably bearded young men, A memorial for Miss Miser was canceled by local politicians for fear it might offend the other migrants. How do you even go there? How do you even talk about
but
that?
it's happening here in America right now, though. That sort of censoring, that sort of, if something happens, you can't say anything about
multiple hand grenade attacks in Swedish no-go zones. You can't get on an airplane with a bottle of water, but somehow you can enter the country with a backpack full of grenades. How does that even happen? I don't even understand.
Probably because they're not searching the migrants as they come in, because they're just allowed to bring whatever they want. That would be infringing upon their
I tried to get some nasal decongestant today, and in America, it's called a meth checker, and so you have to put your license in, and you can only get so many nasal decongestants because people get the nasal decongestants and then they make meth out of it. Well, the machine was down, and then she was going to do it by longhand, and then finally she's like 10 minutes later, she's like, I can't get it. The meth check isn't working, so I walked out of there with no nasal decongestant. But y'all can bring grenades into a country, but I can't buy some nasal decongestant. What is happening? I told a joke to her. I said, This is what's wrong with America. You can get in our country as an illegal immigrant. You can buy a social security card. You can get a driver's license. But me, I can't get no nasal decongestant. What? Okay.
He's very upset about this.
Sweden likes to do things a little differently, and so do its criminals, which is why hand grenade attacks on police and rival gangs are not uncommon. While the heavily migrant-populated city of Malmo is best known for its grenade attacks, the Swedish capital of Stockholm has seen at least one as well. As recently as last August, an 8-year-old British boy was killed by a hand grenade while visiting a family in Gothenburg. Sweden even had to redeploy bomb disposal teams from Iraq back to Sweden due to the high number of attacks. What do you even say to that? One is wrong. One death is wrong. Oh, it's no big deal. That's just that's what we have to deal with because we have the migrants here. A British young boy is dead.
You know what I'm envisioning is Linda Sarsauer in that video that we played yesterday where she's like, I am not afraid. Raise your fist in the air if you're not for fear. You know, I'm not afraid if those migrants come in and start killing everybody or raping everybody. It's like, that's fine for you to say, A, because you're one of them, but B, because you're one of them.
Go ahead. You can read the next one.
No, I can. Police are quitting their jobs in huge numbers. The constant danger from migrants in no-go areas have led a lot of police to just give up. An estimated 80% of police are considering another career because of the violence and the government not letting them properly do their jobs due to political correctness. Swedish Police Sergeant Peter Larsson noted, the violence against... Larsson. The violence... No, I'm not going to read like that.
Okay.
The violence against us in the police, the paramedics, and firefighters has become much worse. We're talking about stone throwing, violence, fires. It has become much worse in recent years.
That's stone throwing. Because you guys have guns, and then you just throw stones, and they make glass bombs. And there's actually an article to go with that. Swedish police, government covering up huge migrant crime spree. A Swedish police officer put his career on the line, and even his liberty, when Peter came out, and he's... you can just get that there's such a... there's just such a
violent force against it.
Yeah, I mean they're not allowed to talk. They're not allowed to say
there's a gag order essentially.
So it says let's see, of the 160,000 refugees who arrived in Sweden in 2015, less than 500 have jobs.
Oh my God.
What are they supposed to do?
That's 113,000 people just in Sweden without jobs.
Yeah.
That came over there just living off of the government.
It says the Swedish government does not keep crime statistics by immigration status or national origin. Now recognize that if you're next generation, then you're a Swede. That's how they do it. However, despite making up excuses, even top Swedish officials acknowledge the reality. Sweden's earlier figures and numerous international studies all show the same thing. Justice Minister Morgan Johannesburg told a government-controlled media outlet, minority groups are often overrepresented in crime statistics. But when controlling for socioeconomic factors, this overrepresentation of minority groups disappears almost entirely. Basically saying they don't have a job, they're poor, that's why they commit crimes and rapes.
Right.
Despite the lack of official numbers, another officer also went public with similar accusations after Springer was viciously attacked for reporting his observations to the public. I share Peter's views on this affected issue 100%, declared Gothenburg police, and I think I read that to you. Yeah, and then as you can see, there is no high-ranking official who has dared give Peter backing. Instead, Code 291 was introduced, which cover all information about the immigration-related crime. Just look at the photo ban at the police station. Frightening in Sweden today. To top it all, the police chief himself reported it to the authority instead of supporting his staff. Otherwise, heads become relocated if they are not dancing in front of the national police chief's barrel. The Swedish public has been told all the facts now. I understand that the younger officers may not dare to go out and criticize the leaders or go openly and support Peter. Then it is over for a future career. Then, when they apply for jobs, they will be classified as disloyal to the employer. And that's why. So in this Swedish article, it's translated, I translated in English, the headline is, Dan Ellison's message to the officers, just shut up. So basically, there's just such a, you have to be quiet. You cannot speak out about these things over and over again. So let's go to our favorite, Nigel Farage, is his wonderful reaction to this. I'm just letting him speak for
Just let him do it.
replay.
Pro rata, Sweden have taken more young male migrants than any other country in Europe, and there has been a dramatic rise in sexual crime in Sweden, so much so that Malmo is now the rape capital of Europe, and some argue even the rape capital of perhaps the world, and there is a Swedish media who frankly just don't report it. And if those comments by me on Sweden have enraged any of you,
Then you can call in, as many of you suggested. So that was Nigel Farage, and we all love what he has to say, right? So then, number 4.
All right. There are at least 55 real no-go zones. Traveling to Sweden, question mark, I can read. If so, there are at least 55 areas you might want to avoid according to police, who say they have little to no control in various areas around the country. The most famous no-go areas are the Stockholm suburbs of Rinkeby and Husby and vast portions of the city of Malmo. Due to Sweden being quite cold in the winter, the residents of no-go areas have invented a unique way to stay warm by setting cars on fire at night. All right. Most serious crime is committed by migrants.
And that was covered in Sweden. That's pretty
Okay, so we did that already.
Yeah.
All right. Another
The
one?
highest selling item in Sweden is chastity underwear.
Well,
I bet it is. Migrants raping underage migrants in asylum homes. Swedish asylum homes should be fairly safe, but that hasn't been the case for many underage boys and girls over the last year. In one case, a group of Afghan migrants sexually abused a fellow Afghan boy who was under the age of 15 after luring him into the woods. Last February, another young migrant was sexually attacked by fellow asylum seekers and beaten. A 15-year-old girl was the victim of rape by an asylum seeker who had only been in Sweden for 2 days.
and then you got the rape capital of the world, 40 sexual assaults, including 5 rapes at different festivals, 35 sexual assaults.
I would just avoid the festivals.
Exactly, you have to. The reaction from the Swedish Interior Minister, Andreas Jörgman, was to say that it was nothing new and that had been worse in the past anyway. I mean, this just shows the pathological.
Yeah.
When something bad happens, and all you can say is it was worse before, what does that say to everybody that's been hurt?
Right.
I mean, it just shows that their brains are completely turned off. They are broken. In Malmo, the police have warned that sex attacks against children as young as 12 could escalate. To combat, I did read that they have flirt courses on how to flirt with the women so that you can flirt a little bit before you actually
Rape them.
Yes. Swedish authorities and media are covering up the migrant crime rate. I think we've covered that, but I'll go over it. If there's one thing you don't want in Sweden, it's being called a racist. Exposing migrant crimes can lead to being shunned by polite Swedish society. So in order not to be a racist, authorities and media cover up migrant crimes, according to security guard Andres Holland, who witnessed a migrant riot. Police said the incident simply wasn't newsworthy, and the local paper censored the coverage of the event. Author and lecturer Carl Eric Cavall said the cover-up extends to academia, with criminology researchers purposely obscuring statistics of crimes committed by migrants and refusing to allow other researchers to access the data. It goes on and on and on. Some of them blame it on the Nordic alcohol culture. Swedish school scores are suffering because of migrants, and
I want to throw in just some of my own personal thoughts on this. And I think that a lot of people that just are, I don't know, a little bit low on the IQ level might be asking themselves the question, well, why don't these Swedish girls just not go to the, because I just said that, this prompted this train of thought, just not go to the concerts, or how is this happening? I mean, the girls should just be protecting themselves. They should go with other males, places. They shouldn't go places by themselves. If it's such a danger, shouldn't these girls know better? Listen, if you go back and watch some of our other footage, what these men are doing, and this is why it's different, why it can take place there as opposed to here in America. Because they will gather in a group, right? And surround a girl or two in a circle of men, and then the ones on the inner are committing the rape, and the other ones are protecting and making sure that the girls can't get out. in America, we don't have that. This happens sometimes with gangs and it happens with certain special instances, but usually you're not going to get 10 to 15 guys that are going to agree to go ahead and cover up a rape. It's just not going to happen. So they've coined this thing that they can do, and they know that they can get away with this.
In their law, if a woman is uncovered, then she's free game, especially for groping.
Exactly.
I was looking at a travel thing on Iran, I think I posted it, which literally said if you go into certain areas, if you go into a mixed area, be prepared, you will be for the occasional grope. Ha ha. It's not funny. They don't do that in our culture.
And the girls in Sweden should not have to go everywhere with a male escort. They shouldn't have to avoid these normal things that they have done historically up until this point. So the fact that people are going, well, why don't they just protect themselves? If they know this is happening, they're just asking for it.
There's one little video, and I think I might show it. In Germany, they had a town meeting, and the grandfather said, you know, what are we going to do in the summer when my granddaughter's wearing shorts and stuff? Well, tell them not to go around the migrants and to, you know, cover up more. So anyways,
all right, so there you have it. This is Leah Michelle's coverage of what you guys keep calling the Swedish thing. It's more than just a Swedish thing.
It's a European thing. It's a Muslim thing. It's an Islam thing. It's a war. They're trying to create a war, basically, eventually.
Yeah, and so by raising awareness,
the more that we need to raise awareness, but the more they keep awareness down, the more the Muslims come in, the more numbers they get, the more they get control. They need to keep it under wraps.
Peanut gallery.
Government can do something about it because New York was a horrible city and you couldn't go there.
Sure.
Without being mugged. And
you had to be searched. You had to be.
We have a friend who's 5'2", 5 foot at most.
And she goes in New York and it's just fine. She's just fine.
In New York City, the center of Manhattan, and
you can't control crime, is what the peanut gallery is saying.
But that's just it. In order for them, and I don't know if I said this in this past one,
profile.
They would actually have to crack down on things, and then it blows Sweden's entire cover of being this peaceful utopia.
And if they do crack down, then they know that the migrants will rise up and do even more.
Exactly. They're afraid. And my mom pointed this out, and it's worth noting that this is classic abuse syndrome. A lot of you know this because there are so many people in the United States, all over the world, where you have an abuser. Every family has one, you know, whether it's a distant relative or a close one. And families cover up for the abuser, and you keep it hush-hush, and you try to make it like it's not as big of a deal as it is, because you're embarrassed, and you don't want other people to see it. And that is what Sweden is doing right now with this migrant problem. You know, so, all right, you guys, this is Leah Michelle signing off for Resistance Chicks, where it's not a conspiracy theory if it's the truth. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to Mass Faith 3 and Resistance Chicks.
Hopefully you have car insurance.
I was thinking that exact same thing. Ring the bell for notifications so that you get an email every time we put out a new video, and find us on Facebook where we can interact with you guys there on a daily basis. We'll be back in a little bit, I think. Are we coming back tonight?
Yeah.
All right, we're going to bring you a little bit on the Milo Yiannopoulos thing. I think you'll like it. Okay, we'll see you back in a bit. Bye.
I was called